Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. Today's episode, I'm going to be joined by a former guest. We talked to quite a while ago, actually, 2019, I think somewhere in the fall, I want to say. We talked to Gabe Grifoni. He is the CEO and co-founder of Rufus Labs. And Rufus Labs is, they have a handheld, I guess a handheld device used for picking. It's a really creative device. I was really impressed with it when I talked to him the first time. And also they have a unique sort of business model. They've taken the software as a service kind of model and put that towards hardware as a service. So it really gives you some flexibility in terms of having those devices on hand and kind of getting more as you need them, or giving you more flexibility if you have something that breaks down, and also helps you to stay with the latest technology as well. So without further ado, I'm going to say hello to Gabe and ask him how he's doing. So how you doing, Gabe? How you been?
Kevin, great. Thank you again for having me on today. I really appreciate it. It's been a year and there's a lot has happened. So, I'm doing well. The team here is doing great. And, all things considered, we're busy and doing our best to help, warehouse frontline workers.
Definitely good stuff. Yeah. Give it. I gave my little overview of Rufus, but why don't you tell when you give the listeners who maybe are new, maybe haven't heard the old episode, give us a little overview of Rufus from I guess the co-founder's head. Sure.
I appreciate it. You did a pretty good job of covering some of our key value propositions for customers. We're really focused on making sure that our ops managers and warehouse associates have essentially the best tools possible to do their, pick, pack, receiving, any kind of warehousing tasks. So we've got, as you mentioned, we're a platform as a service. So we look at it as, what are the best tools? It's this hardware, this software, and this service that come together. You don't have to think about anything other than what WMS am I using and what are my orders coming in. The rest of it is kind of what we take care of. So we provide all that hardware to all the wearers. So we have wearable devices that run Android. We have wearable glove and ring scanners that help, again, free up the hands of workers. And that comes with our software, which locks down devices. It brings a whole bunch of metrics reporting into our hardware itself. And then managers actually have the ability to look on a dashboard. We call it Rufus Work Hero. That's our dashboard. View there will allow operations managers in real time to see everything going on the floor. If you've got 50 devices on the floor, you'll know exactly who's picking what, where, in real time, what the cost per scan is, any of those kind of metrics that are relevant to you. And we've got a whole set of reporting in there too. And then I guess the third part of kind of our platform is our services beyond just kind of the metrics reporting and visibility into is we're really focused on zero downtime, making sure that no one in the warehouse is without a tool for any period of time. There shouldn't be a reason you can't be picking, packing, and doing your lists. So we have zero downtime guarantee. We provide on-site redundancies, unlimited break and replace is all part of the service. It's essentially 1 monthly fee per worker, and you have every bit of tools, software, and services that you need.
Definitely. So if you gave a better overview than me, which is but yeah,
I've been here longer.
Yeah, you know a little more than me, I guess, right? So yeah, I mean, I think one of the most impressive things about it is that, like you were talking, it's really a comprehensive platform. Like it's not just a device. It's much more than that. When you talked about the Work Hero and the stats and being able to see all those different things, it's really important, and the fact that it's all kind of bundled together into one thing, I think is the most impressive, because usually you see it's a couple different things and systems being put together to get all those things. So to be able to do it in one comprehensive platform is really, really ideal. So that's kind of a little overview, but I'm curious, it's been about a year since we talked the last time, and what's new with you guys? What's some of the new things that have been happening? Obviously, the pandemic is the new thing for everybody, but what's been happening? Has there been any kind of changes or innovations to your products because of that?
Yeah, I mean, we have our before. I think there's always before COVID and after COVID now, right? Yeah. I think before. That's how we look at things now, right? It's crazy. It's a once in a century kind of shift. And we looked at things differently. We had a certain pipeline of products and things that would matter to our customers. January, February, March, as kind of things started to shift across the world, the things that mattered to our customers changed a little. So what we did is, since we're small, we're a startup and we're pretty nimble, we're able to kind of evolve and move with our customers a lot quicker than maybe a legacy player in the space that just makes hardware can do. So some of the things we've been able to do in the meantime, we have new hardware. So we have our Rufus Cuff. We actually have a Rufus Cuff Pro. We have a new Scan Glove 2, which provides a whole bunch of other new benefits in our scanning glove and reporting into our Android wearables. And then we've also launched a bunch of new features on our Work Hero dashboard, all sorts of reporting, mobile device manager lockdown. You can control what apps your workers can see and use based on what systems you're using on Windows or on web or Android. We've also really beefed up the reporting. You can drill down from a company, every facility, every team, every worker. You can compare workers to each other and see where they're trending. There's a whole bunch of reporting that's been built in, and I'd say some of the areas that we've focused on that are specifically related to COVID. We have a new feature called Rufus Proximity that's launching later this month, actually, so pretty soon. And that'll allow warehouse workers to be aware when another worker wearing Rufus is within 6 feet. That's part of proximity. There's a few more features, but that's the main one launching right away. So essentially a social distance warning, if you want to call it, right, to make sure that we keep workers safe and distant in the warehouse. And we see a huge surge in demand. That's 2-3 times what it would be this peak season, and you can't really put more workers in a warehouse these days because of everything. So you've got to be able to work with what you have and keep workers safe.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think that's been one of the most challenging things, as I've experienced myself personally, and also talking to other people, is how to still be able to accomplish the same things, but, maintain the social distancing. So the fact that you're going to add that proximity addition, I think that really helps, and it gives some consciousness to the worker as well, about being distant. And I'm guessing that you're going to be able to see that from a management perspective too, as well, if workers are coming close to each other, so you can make changes as needed. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's really, we're all adjusting to whatever this, kind of way of life and doing things, whether it be, shopping in a grocery store, picking in a warehouse, going to a doctor's office, and all the different procedures we go through now. Yeah. So it really takes a long time for us to kind of learn new habits. And we're focused on, maybe you're not paying attention all the time when you're in a warehouse, so when people are that close to you. So we can help workers kind of learn those safe practices. And managers also will be able to see that, so they can say, okay, I know maybe it's not the workers, maybe this area of the warehouse that people are always coming in contact needs to be rearranged so I have more flow and a wider aisle for people to get through. So that reporting is important to be able to change your operations and improve workflow. So everyone will be able to see that. Workers will know themselves, and managers too. Definitely.
So you mentioned in there too as well that we're seeing a spike in demand, especially with e-commerce, with the pandemic, and now we're coming into peak season here at the end of the year and the holidays. So as we're getting into that, we've already seen peak-like points in demand prior to the typical peak season. So, how is this going to look for warehouse workers? And you mentioned, we can't necessarily put a bunch more warehouse workers in because of the distancing thing. So how do you see it looking for warehouse workers who have to try and help meet this demand?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different year. Warehouse workers are frontline workers, right? They're doing the job and essentially risking their lives to make sure that your groceries, your Christmas, your medical goods, whatever it is, are getting to you on time. And now you have a holiday surge that no one's going to stores anymore. Workers are going to be in there. The best thing that workers can do is, it's really about following the right guidelines and having, I really think, tools that allow you to be more efficient are critically important, more than they were before. Companies every few years, they look at upgrading because they might find 5% more efficiency, whatever it is. This year is different because it's not just a matter of things might get delayed a little. They get delayed a lot and wouldn't make it to place on time, and some of them are life-saving, critical goods. So workers are going to have to, warehouses have to shift around tools. If you haven't upgraded to tools at this point, you're going to go into a peak season unlike any other, and it may be difficult, and the safety of those workers for us and for I'd hope most of our customers at least is really important. So I think that there's going to be a big difference, and training and tools that help promote safety and keep people, working more efficiently are the most critical things you can do.
Yeah, interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, and I think it's difficult to kind of meet these accommodations in a way and figure it out. But I think we're all getting there, and hopefully most places are abiding by that for everybody's safety. But we're also going to see, obviously, I think it's inevitable that there's going to be some increase in labor that's going to take place. So, a lot of times during this peak season, and probably already because of, the increase in demand, you're seeing operations take on more temporary workers for the holiday or during higher volume times. So, one of the things about the device that you guys offer, it's very easy to utilize. And you said you work on reducing the amount of downtime. And one period where oftentimes you run into the issue of having downtime is when you bring on these temporary workers and there's the training period, right? So how are you guys helping to kind of get operations to be able to speed up the training process for these temporary workers and kind of get them going, I guess, faster than normal with some older technology?
There's a few things to look at here. One is the tools themselves, right? I mean, a lot of the older stuff and legacy tools people are using in warehouses are, Windows CE. You find me a new warehouse worker or a younger worker who knows how to use Windows CE. It's really difficult, right? But everyone knows how to use Android. Mm-hmm. It's a very different kind of tool. And I think switching technology to something that's more friendly and usable and known to users is one, really important, and that's why obviously our system is built around Android. We've done a lot of things to our software itself to streamline it and make everything about onboarding to starting your day to setting up accounts really easy. So we've seen customers go from 2 days of onboarding to a half a day now with our technology. So on average, we see about a 75% reduction in onboarding time. We've because of COVID, we've actually become much more adept at virtual onboarding and virtual training out of necessity. But we now are so much faster. We can get people a document that says, here's out of the box how to get going. You can scan the screen and the barcode scanners are automatically paired together. You can enter in your Rufus user ID, and then any applications and WMS systems that you're supposed to be using and allowed to see are right there for you. So we've made everything very clean, very simple, and very easy to onboard from a worker side, but also even from a manager perspective. You can go right into our dashboard and add 6 seasonal workers that morning. They have accounts, they grab a device, and it's user-based. They can get up and go and start using the device right away with pretty minimal training. Again, it runs Android, so they're used to a lot of those systems. So we've done a lot from both the hardware to the software that users use on the handheld, on the wearables, as well as all of the dashboard features that just make it easy to get going out of the box and set things up yourself. Customers can even pre-prep when, we did a shipment of platforms for a new customer that was rolling out a big wave, and they were able to get all their accounts and everything set up while the stuff was in transit. When they got there on day one, workers could start logging in right away. So we've done a lot to make it quick to onboard everywhere, especially during this peak season. This will be a good test for us, but we have a good leg forward, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because that's a huge. So from 2 days to like a half a day. I mean, that's a huge improvement, without a doubt. So it's essentially because, I've been in situations from personal experience where you bring in a temp worker, and in some cases they're not really able to get up and go like on their own for a few days. Sometimes, depending on whatever task it may be and the complexity of the process, it might be a week or more, and you're kind of losing time, and oftentimes you run into a situation where maybe you don't get the approval to bring on an extra person or extra couple people to help out until you really, really, really need it, and then you're losing time because you're doing the training. So being able to reduce that, and like you said, using something that's a little simpler and that's more relatable, like the Android platform, I think that's a huge improvement for things, and it will be interesting to see how that plays out during the peak season and when these new employees come in and they get used to it. So it's pretty interesting stuff, and I love to see that improvement, especially as someone who's been a trainer in the past and had to kind of get through these people and then correct their errors and deal with all this stuff. And so it's interesting to see how they'll pick up on that a lot more quickly. So with that, being said, you're saying, it's going to be a good test for this peak season, and you guys have this hardware as a service kind of business model. So I imagine that not only is there an increased demand for products from customers, but then there's also an increased demand for you guys to provide more devices to your customers. So how are you guys prepared for that, and how do you handle that?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. There is going to be a lot more seasonal hire. Not as many as people would hire to meet the demand because of COVID restrictions and having to keep less people in the warehouse. So you're going to have to hire, a percentage of what you need and make somehow that percentage, in addition to your regular team, still work. And what we do as part of our platform, that we provide, our platform as a service has the ability to flex. So if you've got a peak season of 2 months where you bring double the workforce in, you can scale up on our subscription and double all of your hardware, your logins, all the services, just as if you had an extra 50 employees on your roster. We'll provide all that, and then when you're done, those come back to us and you're done flexing. So you don't have to do any kind of CapEx. We don't charge anything for our hardware. It's all built into our monthly subscription. So it's a lot easier for customers to get going. And you're not spending, thousands of dollars on a 4-pound handheld device that is only going to be used for a couple months. It's really been one of the other big areas of really good positive feedback we've gotten from our customers in terms of how we're able to work with them, especially in this peak season. We've ramped up our inventory here to be ready to handle our customers' needs.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you had an interesting point there, too, and I forgot to touch on that in the beginning when I gave my little overview of Rufus. But the OpEx versus CapEx, is a huge thing as well. And especially right now during the pandemic, when so many, I guess, budgets had been kind of restricted and costs were trying to be cut because there's a lot of uncertainty. Being able to do it as an operational expense through the subscription model like you're talking about is a huge, huge deal. I think gives you a lot more leverage as someone who's, trying to convince your boss, right, to invest in this versus like a capital expense. Like you said, you instead of spending a couple $1,000s for a device that you're going to use maybe for 2 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year, you just have to do it for that certain time period, like increase the operational expense a little bit. So that's definitely a huge thing, and I'm happy that you brought that up there. I almost forgot about that. I apologize.
Well, no, don't apologize. It's my job to remember to talk about all the cool things we do and what our customers like. But no, that's definitely a big area of focus for our customers, especially during peak season. Like you said, it's a few $100s versus several $1,000s to be able to have the same capacity. So it's kind of a no-brainer to do that. And then by the time you have next peak season, we may have new hardware, so you'll have even better tools when you flex up. You don't have to be relegated to owning tools you buy that are going to be obsolete a lot sooner than they used to be. Gone are the days where it was 5 to 7 years or 10 years of using old, Zebra handhelds or something. It's really just a different kind of model and hardware that you need, which is why, we can provide that every couple of years without any expense and just trade out what you have, and you're always going to have the latest data and the latest abilities, and it continues to drive efficiencies. This year especially is, you need them, but you're going to need them going forward everywhere. Logistics is going to only get busier because everyone who's buying things the way they are now is now trained that way. If it's 60 days, you're 90 days, you're doing something, it doesn't form into a habit. We've been doing this for almost a year, and we're going to be doing it through part of next year. And the way we do things, people are not going to stop shopping and consuming the way they have now learned to do for a year and a half. So logistics is going to be at this level, and it took a big leap forward, and now it's going to keep moving from that point.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think you have a good point. I mean, consumer behavior has just changed for good. So demand is going to continue there. And I think you also had an interesting point there as well, which you're with your model, the business model, and how it operates. You're always going to have the latest, like you said, and the updates and things of that nature. So your equipment will always be standard in a sense, because I've been, like you mentioned, you would buy device, and the device is supposed to last, 5 to 7 years because of the investment in it, right? And there's not much of a opportunity to upgrade in a sense. And so you get into situations where, the business grows, and you still have, 10 of the old devices, but now there's like a new model, and they don't have the old model anymore. And now you have 4 of new ones, and it's a little bit different. So there's a little different like quirks you got to teach and train out, and some things don't work the same. So, having that standardization is also a really, really big key component to, ensuring that the operation still runs smoothly, and also on the training side, making sure that things are the same, and, there's not a situation where people are like, oh, I don't like to use that gun because it's the old one, or I don't like to use that gun because it's the new one and it's different from what I know. You don't run into any of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, standardizing it, you're right, it is super critical. We have a customer now that's rolled out half their facility with Rufus, and they're still running legacy on the other half. And then 8 of those devices are even older. They call them the dinosaurs, and they only run on certain 2.4 networks. So everyone's in the same space, and we don't want people to be in that space. So we want to make sure that the hardware isn't their focus anymore. We'll make sure you're always going to have new stuff, and when you're ready to swap it out, we won't make you do it during, you do it whenever you want, but it won't be during your peak season. But you'll have the option to do it and keep continuity across your warehouse of what hardware and platforms you're using at once.
Good to know. So before we kind of wrap up here, what's the future for Rufus look like? I mean, it sounds like you guys are constantly kind of innovating and pushing out updates and all these different things. So, but what's kind of on the horizon for you guys as well?
Obviously we're always going to have a regular soft hardware cycle, right? Every 2 to 3 years we'll have new hardware, from scanners to wearables. And I think that's really important. That won't change. That's going to be part of our roadmap. Software, features, COVID is not going to be around forever, hopefully, right? We want to be past this and be in a good spot where we can,
yes, please,
see our relatives. Exactly. So, we have to keep looking at what the industry will look like. This was a very weird year in the sense that we had to do things and maybe create things that might not have been created before. I think they're great things, and I think working in warehouses will be forever changed. So for us, it's really going to be always about listening to customers. We're lucky to have great customers. They give us really good feedback, and we're going to keep building those features. Proximity is not just about 6-foot alerts. There's going to be other parts of that make sure workers stay safe. Understanding if someone did test positive, maybe who came in contact with that person would be relevant. So there's lots more we can do in that area too, and continue in proximity. And then it's really going to be just our focus, which is about connecting humans and robots together, right? Because that's the next 20 or 30 years of warehouse is going to be, how are these machines and humans going to work together? And the humans need to have these abilities, and they need to be connected and understand where they are and what they're doing, so that machines can collaborate better. So that's really what is the main driver for us, and always what's ahead is, how do we optimize that workflow and make sure that humans and machines are always in that optimal workflow. That's really going to be the focus on everything that drives our hardware and software and services.
Okay, great. Yeah. I think it's really going to be interesting to see how things go moving forward. You guys already have very innovative, not only product, hardware, and platform, but also business model as well. I love the subscription type of service for the hardware and the platform as well. I think it's great. So it'd be really interesting to see how you guys continue to grow, and how you guys innovate as well, and how just the overall supply chain does too. So Gabe, I want to thank you for checking back in and coming back on the show again. It was good to catch up with you and talk to you. How can people find out more information about Rufus?
Kevin, thanks for having me on again. Always free for a conversation to hang out. I enjoy our conversations. We need to have one about getting some Rufus tools and a free demo in your warehouse to see if it'll help. Maybe after peak season. Probably not the right time to switch this week.
Yeah, I'm ready.
But yeah, okay, let's do it. We'll talk offline. But in the meantime, anyone else who's listening, you can learn more at getrufus.com. And as I mentioned, we have free demos. We do 14 and 28-day trials. And since it's so easy to kind of get up and running out of the box, customers are able to test their systems out, have really good worker feedback, and move quickly into an OpEx kind of rollout. So again, you can check out getrufus.com and learn more there. And really appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on, and we'll put all that information on thenewwarehouse.com as well. So really great to talk to Gabe and catch up and see what Rufus has been doing. So thanks a lot, Gabe.
Awesome.
You've You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.